Big Sky howdy, and welcome back to another exciting episode of World Bigfoot Radio. And this is one that some of you, and me included, have been waiting for quite a while here. And we have joining us today William Lunsford from way down south, Texarkana, and does research on the FOUKE monster around that area and whatnot. And finally, he can be back with us and show us all the evidence that he's been able to accumulate down there that's really fun to look at. And some updates since the last time he was on the show even. Of course, things have been happening. And so with that, welcome to the show, William Lunsford.
Duke, thank you so much. I have really looked forward to doing this show ever since we finished the last show there. And at that time, I had promised the folks that I had some pictures that I was going to bring forward, but I was under contract with another company. So that contract has expired, and so I'm ready to make these public for the very first time. So hopefully everybody will find these to be they are genuine and authentic. There's 4 things that don't lie. You've got preschoolers, you've got yoga pants, you've got drunks, and you've got me when I'm talking about Bigfoot. So everything that I'm showing to you tonight is going to be real. Like I said, it'll be the first time actually publicly exhibited. And so I'm really excited to be on your show to do it. I hope everybody really enjoys what we bring here.
Right on, brother. Okay, so we decided we were going to go back and show all the stuff that you couldn't show last time first. So where do you want to start with that?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm anywhere you think we can go. Last time we can start out. I guess probably the one thing when people say we don't have any scientific evidence of Bigfoot, even pictures. Well, I've got a picture there that I sent to you. You can see I have a Bigfoot there, and he's actually biting my game camera. And so it's not even an inch away. His nose is pressed against the lens, and he has his mouth open, and he's trying to bite that camera. And again, he did another picture right after that is almost the very same pose there. And this guy is bound and determined that he's going to make a meal out of this thing. Well, whenever he finally decides he can't do it, he just throws it into the dirt. And so whenever I found it, it took me a while to get it, once I uploaded everything, to get the right direction. And once I did, I put it on my wife's iPad and then happened to catch it the right way. And whenever it came on, it just blew me away. Because what we have is really scientific evidence. We've got the teeth there, if you can see. It's the same tooth pattern as what an ape would have. You've got 4 teeth in front, and then you have a space, and that space is called the primate space. And then you have a canine right there. It doesn't really extend down past the jaws like some baboons do, but it's just a sharp canine tooth there, I'm sure, for whenever it eats meat. And so you have that right there. And like I said, that's the very same evidence right there that we have in some of the monkeys. So I'm not saying all Bigfoot are monkeys, but they show some kind of kinship with that, some kind of genetic relationship. And you can see that thing actually biting my camera. And so that was something that I really was excited to bring to somebody, because that is, they say, well, we don't have anything scientific. Well, there's your scientific right there. It's enough. It will be documented. My son is a dentist. And so he's gone through all that. And he's the one who told me about the thing called the primate space. And so so I was really tickled to have that. And so when I couldn't wait to show somebody. And so I've had to kind of keep it under wraps. But now that I'm able to bring it forward, I hope y'all can see it. Hope it shows up good, and you'll see that thing actually is coming up and biting my camera. And those aren't the only instances. He has done it several times since then. And one of them that he has there, you can see, I think Duke can bring to you. You'll see it's kind of from the side. You can see two orange things between its teeth. Well, when you do, those orange things are actually two round circles are actually eyes from another Bigfoot. And then you can see, I've got it compared there. I sent a photo of what's called the Mayaka skunk ape. And you can see those eyes of that thing. They're basically the same color as what this Bigfoot is that he has the camera up there. And as you can see the eyes. But the neat part of that is from the front, when he finally got it in his mouth, you can look towards the front, and if it's hopefully it shows up, and you can see the silhouette of a patty type animal directly in front of him right there. So there was more than likely two Bigfoot there with this animal when he's trying to bite this camera. And so I was really excited to see that. I had not gone back and changed the light filter on my camera. I guess got kind of lazy. We got busy probably more than anything, and I didn't change it, so it didn't come out as clear on the one with the silhouette. But nevertheless, there it is. Like I said, you can see not only, like I said, the one of the Bigfoot biting, but then the other two Bigfoots standing there with him. So I've been really excited about that. This past month, I've had one that's picked up my camera 4 or 5 times. He's bitten it, and a couple of times. He's really funny because they're actually obsessive compulsive, and he puts it back in the same place, which is really good, but it's not quite the same direction. But the cool thing about it was this time he turned it upside down. So when I pull my SD card out, I'm looking at my first 10 pictures, and then all of a sudden the thing is upside down. I'm like, what is going on here? Well, sure enough, when I do have to look at it upside down, and then I find again where he's biting my camera. I've sent photos after he gets through biting the camera this time. He tosses it about 20 or 25 feet. And when he does, you're going to see some photos there of his thumb. I mean, right there, just the same way the nose and the teeth were. There's his thumb right there. Sent pictures of 2 fingers that he has right there as well whenever he's tossing this. And then also have one there where it looks like he's walked up and he's directly on top of it after he's tossed it. And you can see from this animal, I had Mary Boland from Texas Bigfoot Rangers help me to filter this up, and you can actually see the hair. I've got some really good researchers with me. It's certainly not all my credit. I've got Stephen Hill and Randy Crawford and Shannon Cruz, and then Shane Church from Southern Bigfoot Alliance has been helping me a lot with my audio and things like that. But when you see these things and you got other minds besides your own, you realize and of course you knew it anyway, but you realize that you're not sitting there in dream world or la la land. You got people that are looking at the same evidence with the same critical mind. I don't want to sit there and pull something up to you and say, oh, well, look at this. This is a Bigfoot, and it's not. That's one reason I don't listen to very many Bigfoot radio shows, because I want my research to be my own. And so that's what we're happening. I've actually had this week, had that Bigfoot picking up my camera and again tossing it, and I go and I find it there on the ground. So it's when I do, I'm all excited because I don't know what's going to be on there so far.
So now I just got done here right before we started recording here, playing around to the piece of video that your research partner Steven sent. That's got some really interesting vocalizations on it. The original is really quiet, so I enhanced the living bleep out of it and made it loud enough, which of course makes it staticky, but made it loud enough that you can actually hear it. So what was going on when that thing happened?
We go through. Stephen is extremely good with his audio. I tend to do more of the video, and he's real good, and he's a logger. So he'll go to these different places, and he'll always carry a recorder with him. When he goes out to log that day, he'll drop it off. And then when he comes back that afternoon, he'll check it out. But we were out there in the woods, and I had forgotten my audio. Well, he sets his out there, and I'm not too far away. And then all of a sudden we get the calls, and I realize I don't even have my cell phone turned on to record. And good old Steven, man, steady as he is, he's got the thing. And the other thing is, and he's saying he's not real happy with us being out there. So I think you can tell when you listen to this audio there that you've had to clean up, that he's very aware of we're out there, and he's trying to send us a message. Most of the time we tend not to listen. We stay out there until it's actually through, but hopefully it will come through when you play this right here for our folks.
Well, the version I did, you'll definitely be able to hear it, but it's not the cleanest thing in the universe. I don't know if Steven's sending me some other versions. I probably just haven't got them yet. But otherwise, you'll be able to hear it for sure.
Stephen will be sending more. I think you're going to talk to him later on, like I said, and that's his more or less area of expertise. Like I said, Shane Church through Southern Bigfoot Alliance has helped us clean up some of that stuff as well, and he's really good. So it will be something that you're listening to. You can tell it's actually got the spectrograph to it from Shane, showing that it's not something that's a known or recognized animal. But Stephen is really, really good with that, and like I said, he never forgets. So if you want to, go ahead and play that for the folks and let them hear.
Sure. Well, here we go. Yeah, I don't know what kind of animal that was, but it was making a racket, and it's louder than hell. It could be a Bigfoot. It could be a Dogman. It could be a T-Rex.
I'm leaning on the first being a Bigfoot, the other two being a Dogman or T-Rex.
Yeah,
those two right there. Anyway, go ahead.
It was raising a racket, whatever it was. So yeah, it's interesting that you got this. Do you think it's just this one individual that likes wrecking up your game cams all the time, or do you think there's more than one of them doing it?
Last year, I was so lucky last year. Like I said, I had 9 sightings last year in all. And I thought, oh, man, there's no way it's going to be good. And the place that we were getting our sightings and our recordings and our camera shots is actually a clear cut out there. And it's owned by a timber company. Well, they went through there and bulldozed the area and raised it. And then, of course, planted trees. And I thought, oh, man, we'll never get it. If they wouldn't have done that, we would have had a Bigfoot on camera within 2 weeks, I promise you. Because they were coming around every night. They had gotten to where they were used to Stephen and I. I think, as we told you the last time that I was on the show, the thing was actually coming up as soon as I would leave, and it would walk up to where my truck had been. I sent you the picture that has the track in between my tracks. This year, he came up on Mother's Day in 2020, and I stopped to go put out some bait on the camera. Stephen calls me about 20 minutes later. He goes, "Have you been up here to what we call ground zero?" I said, "Yeah, how'd you know?" He goes, "You've had a visitor," and I've got an 80-yard track line following me down to the camera where I baited up the camera with some Snickers bars there. So I think it is actually a troop of them, and I was afraid it wasn't going to pick up as well as what it was last year. But now this last month, what I have found with my research is in the spring, you have March and April, and they're just really, really active. I don't know whether it's their breeding season or whether it's because the deer, just got through breeding and they're plentiful and abundant, and their most of their food supplies there. Also, again, October and November is really good down here. This year it was kind of strange. They started off in August, and so I've had it been treated to an extra 2 months. But so they've tended to been more aggressive, and now they finally started to pick up. So again, I'm getting pictures just about every day. I can go up there, and it's because of the area. It's not because I'm the world's greatest Bigfoot researcher, because there are so many in this area. I'm actually finding anywhere from 1 to 10 tracks a day. And so we're just lucky to have this area. It was an area that we found years ago, and Steve and I have been friends for 30 years. And I told the story whenever I came back through. My son and I, he was preaching at a little church up there, and so that evening about 8:30, I say it's about 8:30 when we got through, and so I saw what I thought was a hitchhiker, and I said, "Reese, watch this stupid hitchhiker up here." Well, anyway, he went back to his cell phone. I drive up there, and all the thing turns around. And whenever it does, it's a Bigfoot. And I said, "Reese, it's a Bigfoot." And I slammed on my brakes. He ran behind my truck there. You could see him in the tail lights, and he took off. Well, I had told Stephen this story. Well, coincidentally, it was a place that he had logged. And so he said, "Man, let me tell you what, this same place here, I had to pull a crew out because I thought somebody was in there messing with us." So when we put 2 and 2 together, we found this area. And
somebody wasn't there messing with them. It was Bigfoot.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm thinking, well, this guy, because there's, a lot of times on weekends, a lot of them people their alcohol kind of gets away from them. They don't mind walking along the sides of the road. You got to watch them because they're not, watching you. But that was exactly what I thought it was. But it wasn't. It was actually Bigfoot. And it was about probably by the time I got up on it and I realized, I was hoping I didn't want, when I saw just how big it was probably about 7.5 to 8 foot tall. But when I saw how big, I realized it wasn't going to be a person. And then when I saw that it was a Bigfoot, well then, man, I just flipped. So that's how we found this area. And man, it is still going strong. I wish that there was some way that we could get somebody who does the environmental DNA to come check some of those creeks. It's filled with creeks. It's got clear cuts, pine plantations. It's man, full of wildlife. And so to do some DNA, I mean, I'm sure they would find in the what's called now the environmental DNA, all the rage, you know, where they take a water sample and they find that what animals are up there. And I'm sure they would find definite proof that he's there. Because if not, I can show it to them hopefully within a night or two up there in the woods, and maybe even in the daytime. I've been getting a lot of daytime stuff in my pictures here lately.
Yeah, it's exciting when you have a nice active area and there's stuff going on all the time. It makes you want to be out there all the time, which of course, you know, for a lot of people that's difficult to do.
It is. I've got a truck that's not even 2 years old, and I've got 36,000 miles on it, and this place is 55 miles from my home. And when I get a chance to go, man, you know, it's okay. Do I want to sit here and watch this TV show, or do I want to go to ground zero? Well, man, it's a no-brainer, you know. Yeah. Here I am right here. I'm at what me and Steven always call ground zero. Actually, it's ground zero east and ground zero west. I'm on west right now. It's divided by just a dirt road, but this is where we've gotten all of our Bigfoot pictures. I don't know what it is that's so special about it. There's a couple of trails coming off into the woods right there. We've got one camera sitting right there by that little log that's half white and half black. Got it hidden. The other camera that we got is up here, right behind this black log underneath that piece of tree bark that you see right there. We've been hiding it right there, and originally it was 2 logs there. I had to reconstruct it. They came in with dozers and tore it down. We weren't getting anything. I came back and kind of reconstructed it a little bit, and sure enough, here we go, and he's picking up my camera. I'm getting pictures of him biting my camera. I've got a picture of the thumb where he threw my camera about 20-something feet there. And this right here is, I don't know what it is. Like I said, it doesn't really appear to be anything special. As you can see, it's just a clear cut right here, but if you look back this way, right there is where me and Steven saw a mom and 2 babies one night. And when her eyes actually changed color on us, but she was there. We came back Sunday and found our tracks right here from where she was. We found several tracks, including the baby track with them right there, and the mama track with the baby on her shoulder. Actually came from right here where I'm standing. And you can see all these jumbo logs. They've changed since they have bulldozed it. But they're still using it for whatever reason, and I'm glad. I've got 2 cameras here now, and hopefully it'll bring us some more pictures. When we do, I'll try to bring Here we are at what me and Steven call ground zero. This will be more or less ground zero east or ground zero north. As you can see, it doesn't really look a whole lot special about it. You can see the course of the land, how it's up and down, some hills and things like that. They have bulldozed it and pushed up several piles of brush and logs and things, but man, this area is just nuts. They seem to come from right here where we're looking at, up over this hill right here, and they cross this road that you can see right here, and then they go over here to ground zero west. So it's really, like I said, it's strange why it has so much allurement to them. I can't figure it out, but we have gotten, this is where I had one today that he's watching me out here prepare my cameras. I bring my wife out here. He's out here. She's looking around, and she stands up in back of the truck with binoculars and stands up and looks. And when she does, he's out there behind one of those brush piles, and he stands up and puts his hands on each side of his head like he's mimicking her. Of course, I got excited and told her, Cindy, there he is. And when he heard that, he ducked down and he took off. And I haven't seen him out there again, but we've heard him a couple of times out there as well. And there's just something about this place. It's just, I don't know, it's near and dear to him. As you can kind of see, we're right here kind of in this draw where it comes up over this hill around some pine plantations. And man, we found tracks all over this place. And like I said, we 7 or 8 animals right here that tend to call this area home. So thought you might want to get a look at it. It's whatever it is. Like I said, it's been special to me for the last year. It's been crazy the number of sightings and activity and pictures that we've gotten here of Bigfoots off our game camera. So this is basically it.
So now tell us about the encounter that you so meticulously did the boots on the ground video for us.
Man, this will be great. I was really glad to do this. This year, the first weekend in March, we have the very first what is called the Keith Crabtree camp out at a place called Smith Park in Texarkana. It's about 22 miles south of Texarkana as the crow flies, 5 miles from FOUKE, and probably a half mile from where Sulphur River actually at the end of this park actually runs right beside it. So we had what was Keith's first camp out. So I had been there, and I had taken out a Boy Scout troop to show them some of the fun of Bigfoot hunting, and we found some stuff, found a couple of tracks, and I was casting a track, and it was so deep I had to wait for it to set up. So when I finally get through, I'm leaving Texarkana. It's probably it's probably 5 or leaving for Texarkana about 5:05, and so we hadn't had a lot of daylight. It's been cloudy there, and of course the sun starts to set, getting around what's called twilight. Well, I'm driving back towards Texarkana, and again I see the structure out there, which is your first key sometimes that you've got a Bigfoot. And I look out there and I stop, go out there and start filming the structure, and I think the video will actually speak for itself right there. And very exciting. I saw the Bigfoot at anywhere probably 50 yards at the very most. And at one time, whenever he was running, I was trying to get through there probably about 40 yards. And then whenever he sets up, whenever I walk up on him, he's about 35 to 40 yards away. And you can see that he's really a big one. He was running on all fours. And like I said, 35 to 40 miles an hour. I'm like, gosh, is that a hog? And but no, it ended up not being a hog. And so I was scared. I was scared to death at the end because I thought I saw ears. And so I called my buddy Randy Crawford, again a researcher, and we went down there. And the next day or 2 days, I couldn't go the next day. Man, I kind of had post-traumatic stress. So I got my gun, and then the 4570 went down there, and so we took about 40 different pictures and put them together. Randy put 2 computer monitors on his desk there at his house, and was actually able to pull it up, and so we were able to get some really, really good stuff. You can see that whenever I took 3 pictures before I took off running, and 2 of them, the thing's looking at me, looks like he's looking straight on, and then the next one, he's turned his head, and you can kind of see that dog face snout on him, and that was all it took for me to decide it was time for me to get back to Texarkana. I was on my way to church anyway, but I for sure wanted to make it after that.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm down here at Sulphur River Wildlife Management Area, probably a mile from Sulphur River, not too far from FOUKE, and I was going to show y'all the place that I had here where I saw a Bigfoot the first weekend in March. You can kind of look behind me, you can kind of hopefully see there a tree structure here. Duke and I had spoken not too long ago about these tree structures, how they're your first key to finding evidence. I want y'all to look at this. That has an X on it, or not an X, but a fork, I'm sorry. This one has a fork on it. That shows just how obsessive compulsive they are. They want everything to be the exact same. You can look and see, and as I walk in here to show you this, here is more evidence. Again, the forks wrapped around the trees. And so right here, and this is what caught my attention as I drove down the road. You can see here where it's wedged here in between the limbs, just didn't fall this way. And you can see this. And I'm going to get back to part 2 here in just a second. As I stood right here that day, I was videoing this structure here, and as you can see way back there on the edge of a green tree line, you'll see some grass about 60 yards away, and I saw something that was running from that way down to this way, big and black, and it was on all fours. And of course I tried my best to see, and with you can see all this foliage, I had to move. So whenever I moved, I had to go this way. You can see how thick that is, about 30 or 40 yards. And whenever I went that way, it's whenever I came out of the brush and I look, and I can show you where I had the Bigfoot standing there looking at me. First time since 1977 that I've actually ran from a Bigfoot, because it looked, at first we had a few little cloud cover, and it looked like he had ears and the ears were moving, and that's the case. It's a DOGMAN or or werewolf type, whatever you want to call, but I don't want nothing to do with him. I didn't have very much firepower that day. Today, I brought my old buddy with me. That right there is a 45-70. It's not to kill necessarily, but it's more or less to protect in case there was a wolfman, dogman, 5-yard walk I had to get to clear this brush here so I could see. After I'm seeing this thing run, I come down here, I'm about 35 yards. I come upon this strip cedar pushed over. I said, down here, anytime you find cedar, those things will strip them down and they'll eat the bark, I'm assuming for bug deterrent or whatever the situation is. So I walk right down through here, and as I'm walking, I'm trying to find where this Bigfoot has gone. I'm excited. Don't mind telling you, I'm halfway scared because I knew it was so big. He was on all fours again and running. I mean, it looked like 35, 40 miles an hour. So I run through here, and finally I see a big shape down here. I'm not very sure of what I'm looking at. And all of a sudden I get, right here's another hog walleye. I get down here and you can see as I go right through there, there's a great big stump right there. And that joker is back there hiding behind that stump. And I could see what I thought were ears moving, but it was evidently cloud cover with the shadows, but it startled me pretty good. So I ended up getting out my phone. I took like 3 pictures. He moved just a little bit, and whenever he did, I didn't take a chance. As I said, there are werewolf type dogmen around here, werewolf type Bigfoot, and so it just blew my mind. Being Bigfoot supper was not high on my list of priorities, so I went ahead and I took off running back to my truck, which, as you can see it back over there, which is about 70 to 80 yards, something like that. So I'm continuing down here to head towards where this Bigfoot was. And as I've lost basically all my, not my senses, but my securities, and that I haven't ran from a Bigfoot since 1977. And this was one where I decided that I would, just for safety's sake. At the stump, and you can see he's marked it with his own little, placing a log there beside it to let, I guess, all the rest of them know that he is, that's his place and all. Looks like on the ground, possibly right there is a track with those 2 little sticks inside. Again, quite possibly another track right there. It's rained on, so it kind of makes it kind of tough to discern, but sometimes you just have to let Mother Nature have her victories. But you can see this is not how big that Bigfoot actually was, how he showed up. This is not all that high. This is probably up to my waist, which is about 3 feet. And you can see, you can look down through there. There he is where he had run from. That's why I could see that he was heading my way. Because you can see it's pretty open. Once you get down here, you can't see as much from the road. But as you go into the woods, you kind of have a little flat right here. Got a really good trail coming through here. Well, hogs have been all over the place down here. And this appeared to be the trail that he was on right here as he came through here, because he was further back, and this trail ends up exactly at the stump that he was hiding on, or the tree. That's the tree and the stump where he's hiding behind. Again, and here we are with lots of tracks, mud right here to be sure. Lots of hog activity again, but you'll see the trail going right through yonder where he took off and he was running behind. So again, it ends up right there at the stump. So thought you might find this interesting. I sure did. Yards from the stump where the Bigfoot had hid behind. I'm just right here off this trail that I just got through showing you. I also found what looks to be possibly the structural remains that he would have used when there was foliage on these leaves to use a hideout. There's one right here, and then probably 15 to 20 feet away is another structural remains. You'll see that there's not any vines like this pulled around any other trees except for right here. And like I said, this is just right here off of that trail that he ran through, and where it looks like the hogs are coming through. Again, I'm going to show you the trail, just how close it is. 1, 2, 3, 3 steps, and there, and then there it goes into a little oak flat, and you're getting your look, if you've never seen it before, at the thickness of the Sulphur River bottoms around here, and why the FOUKE monster, southern Sasquatch, whatever you want to call him, why he tends to make this his home. Beautiful, beautiful area. Said hogs and snakes, but there's things out here that has the hogs and snakes for supper, and that's what keeps bringing me back. Let's look at the tree and the stump where I had saw the Bigfoot, where he came and hid to basically scare the daylights out of me when I first saw what I thought would be his ears moving. But you can see this, how big that thing was, because he's so much bigger than that stump is right there. And he was hiding down. You could see part of his body hanging out. You could see his head and his face, and he's sitting right there looking right at me. So again, you got hog sign back here in the back, and that could be one reason that he spends so much time right down here. He's got a bacon buffet down here. I kind of enjoy one of them myself. So anyway, this is going to be the last I've seen here from Sulphur River, but I wanted to share this with you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Across the road, actually from where we just left, and I knew this old cedar was over here. He pushed this cedar down last year, 2 years ago, I'm sorry, and he's stripping that bark. Like I said, I assume to him it's just like going to a grocery store or a CVS, Walgreens, somewhere that has off or medication or whatever to keep the bugs off of him. But I knew this thing was here, but I came over here just then. This is not my first time around this area. And as I crossed this trail right here, I've got about a 19-inch track right here where he stepped out of the water. It's not a very wide track, but this guy here has got just a really long foot. But you can see right there where the toes are. Again, going right through here and following this trail right through there. Track line right there by the sticks, going up. Here we are. There's number 2 right there. We go up, and there's number 3 right there by that stick. Those last two are in the water. To what me and Randy just looked at a while ago. Once you look at this, and you can see, like I said, it's kind of got all the bows that are into it, kind of what I'm gonna call jungle gym formation. But you see how that one goes up. But then look right here, as we step up here. 1, 2, 3, triple wrap, stuck around. Again, pulled under, double wrapped right here. So double wrapped right there, triple wrapped right there, going on down, stuck into the ground right there. Happens all the time? Nah, not like this. Flying down here, I'm on the edge of the road. I'm right here in one of these washes on the side. I found at least 3 steps and maybe 4. They're not going to show up. The 4 aren't, but right here is one, right here beside these 2 sticks. We go right here to the edge of the water. Here's 2. This is actually in the water. It's kind of slid a little. You can look and see. Then we're going a little further here. These are about 4 foot apart. And then there's track number 3 right there. I'm going to back off and show them to you as a rule. And there they are.
Wow.
Right there.
So jeez. So this is the area you walked around and did all the video in then?
Exactly. And this is not my first encounter with this Bigfoot. I sent you a picture in there that you will see there, and you'll see one that is leaning out from behind a tree. It's got to be the same one because I'm going to say it's maybe 100 yards away, something like that. And then it's also on Halloween in 2018. And so I'm there walking around, and he comes up behind me, and I hear him moving around. I hear him grunting. There'll be a pine cone or stick laying real close to me, and I look around. Generally, if you're in the woods and one of these things is tracking you, if you'll stop and hide, it will become panicked, and so it will kind of give itself away. Well, when I stopped and hid, this thing stopped and hid, and I'm like, oh man, this guy has played this thing before. So I sit there for a minute, and I went back to looking. Pretty soon, the noise starts up again. I did the same thing, like I said, and he hid. I thought, oh shoot. Well, then the stick started landing a whole lot closer. And I thought, man, you might, if he's agitated, and it was, like I said, right about the time that the deer start breeding and that they really start chewing on the deer. And so I thought, you might want to get out of here. So as I was walking away, instead of stopping and him possibly hiding again, I just kept walking, and I put my camera up over my shoulder and just clicked it. And as luck would have it, I got him right on the outer edge, right on the outside edge of my camera. I almost missed him, but then there he was, leaning out from the tree there, looking at me. You can see the face, you can see the cone head, you can see the hand that's in front of him, and he's leaning out from behind the tree. Classic Bigfoot pose. So I'm sure this is probably the same one that I've had in this area right here. There was another guy had a sighting down there this year on December, first weekend of December, and it possibly could have been the same one. He had it with the FLIR, but the only thing was, from what he said, that one on the FLIR doesn't appear near to be as big as what this one is. So this is an area that I hunt quite a bit, and there's a lot of snakes down there. There's a lot of hogs. There's a lot of every other kind of animal that you can find down here, and that kind of makes it interesting too. But the thing is, there's a lot of Bigfoot. He's less than a mile from the river, so like I said, he uses that. He follows that trail. They eat those hogs. I find hog skulls all the time down there. I find deer skeletons all the time down there. So this is a place that I really go to a lot, and this time I was really fortunate to get that big joker on to have the visual, and then be able to get 3 pictures of him before I run off. He didn't run off. I ran off because I just didn't trust the fact that I didn't see ears, and that's not ever a good sign.
Yeah, that kind of makes you worried if you see the ears sticking up on the top. It's like, well, is it a bear? Is it a dogman? Or is it a gugly? Not good options.
And any one of the 3, like I said, is not something that you're going to encounter in everyday life. So you're naturally a little bit apprehensive. But like I said, the first picture, you can see the ear. It looks like the ears are sticking straight up on his head. Well, then the other picture, you see they're laid down backwards. And I have a good friend who was an a policeman and a Cherokee Indian ex-Army Ranger, and he did crime reconstruction. And I sent him to him. He goes, man, it looks to me like you were being set up for an attack. And he said, I'm glad that you ran away. And so whether I was or not, I don't know. But it was a very exciting time, like I said, to have a visual. The whole encounter lasted probably from the time I saw him running, probably lasted more than a minute to a minute and a half till I took off and left. And so, like I said, very, very exciting time for me, very, very exciting recording. And to be able to go back the next 2 days later and prove what you saw. And so, again, I think that will show up in the video for everyone.
Okay, well, in addition to this thing, of course, there's lots of other things that have happened down there, and I'll be peppering this show with a lot of occasional pictures of tracks, since you've got tons of track pictures. And one thing that I'd like to touch on is some of the weird 3-toed critters down there in FOUKE. What the heck? What's up with that?
You know, the thing is, when I first heard about the FOUKE monster having 3 toes, I didn't believe it. I thought, oh, well, the toes just aren't showing up, or he's been in a trap. And I've actually got a picture of one that looks like he's been in a trap that was a 3-toed animal. And I had secured that in my mind. Well, that's what people are seeing as far as 3 toes. But then I met a man down here that actually does my father-in-law's pest control. And as he was a young man, he was down there on the banks of Mercer Bayou with his family. And his dad sends him down to get some water. Well, as he's down there leaning over the water to get the bucket, the shadow comes up over him. Well, he's got two brothers. He thinks it's the brothers messing with him. He tells them, "Hey, you're not scaring me. Y'all need to go on." Well, the thing doesn't move. He turns around and looks, and there the thing is. Right behind him, he sits about 7 foot tall. It's black. It's a Bigfoot, but he said the thing had 3 toes. You could see clearly that it had 3 toes on it. The hand was normal, he said, but the toes were actually 3 toes. So I don't know if it's the inbreeding. Duke, my own opinion is, and nobody can prove this yet, but it's a different species than some of them. Some actually have that 3-toed. I've got 2 casts at Monster Mart in Fouke, Arkansas, and both of them are 3-toed animals. And there's no doubt there's nothing else around it. They were made in soft mud. There was no other way that you could have missed seeing the other 2 toes that was there. So possibly inbreeding, but it could possibly be just another species that we just don't know enough about yet until we can get one of these people that classify themselves to be experts to show us a body or a Bigfoot in a zoo or an enclosed area. Then until then, we're just going to have to go with the researchers, the everyday researchers who are out there who are seeing these things. And so I'm finding a lot of 3-toed tracks. And then once I moved north to my area up there right at the base of the Ouachita Mountains, I said there's a lot of 4-toed tracks up there. And just 4 toes. Of course, you find the occasional.
Those are just trolls. Stay away from them. They'll eat you. As far as getting back to the 3-toed freakish weird thing in Fouke that looks like a Bigfoot but has 3 weird toes. Inbreeding generally causes polydactylism, which is why you see cats with 6 and 7 toes, because they're inbreeding too much. So it creates more digits, not less. So if you got something there's more than one of, and it hasn't like lost toes in a trap or something, and these things are running around with 3 toes, it's some kind of subspecies, and they're breeding.
I believe they are breeding. I've had the occasions twice now to see a mama in each case. The mama had 2 babies with her, and if you know much about deer hunting, a mature, healthy female deer will have twins as well. So I don't know if that definitely always applies with Bigfoot, but the two times I have seen the mama with the babies, both times she's had 2 babies with her. So you're right. They are breeding as a species, and I think that it's going to become, whatever that trait is going to become stronger in the species. But it is, I believe, it's a different kind of animal. These animals here at Fouke, and I've seen quite a few of them now. I spend 4 days a week down here in the woods, and these animals down here at Fouke, they have the classic quote ape look or gorilla look. They've got the cone head. They've got the hair there. They're really built like a bodybuilder. But then again, when you move north up there, they've got less hair on their face. They don't seem to. Some of them seem to be as robust, but not just as characteristically all the time as muscled up as what these things. So it has to be a different species.
So yeah, I'm convinced that there's actually more than one sub-variety of them running around the continent. And that just makes sense, because it wouldn't make sense if they were all the same all the way across the continent. Look, we got deer all the way across the continent. How many people know there's 21 sub-varieties?
Right.
There are. So same thing. You don't expect them to, ones that are living down in northern New Mexico or Utah or something are not going to be a whole lot like the ones that are living up in Alaska or the ones that are living in swamps down in Louisiana. They're going to have local variation just because the breeding populations are, they need different traits in order to be readily surviving in these environments.
Exactly. The generalization, the general characteristics seem to be the same, but then there's other characteristics that are coming out that people are telling, that are credible people that, you're like, golly, that doesn't sound anything like this one that John over here told me about, or that Mary told me about, or that I've seen here. And so it only makes good sense that they are a different species as you go across the country there. Even the white-tailed deer down here in Arkansas where I live, if you're down here and you kill a deer that weighs 180 pounds, you killed a big deer. Well, man, up there in Michigan, Wisconsin, Montana, where you live, the deer are 240, 250 pounds. It's nothing. And that's within the species. So, there's variance, and nature kind of takes care of that as far as for, what their physical needs are going to be and everything. So I'm really sure that it's a different species, and I hope one day to be able to prove that. I've gotten, as I said, I can compare some of the pictures that I've sent with you, and you can see the one of them appears to be a little albino. One of them doesn't have hardly any hair on his face. Some of them have the snouts. Down here in Arkansas, I've never seen, and as far as Texarkana, Fouke, Arkansas, I'm sorry, except this one that I got back here the first weekend in April that's ever had in May, I'm sorry, March, I'll get it there in a minute, in March there, that actually has a snout. So it's really intriguing, and that's something that I'm kind of looking at. And you're seeing now some differences in the foot structure, as you said, the 3-toed and the 4-toed. And whereas I didn't believe it before, now I'm pretty well locked in. Yeah, these folks were telling me the truth. It's a 3-toed animal.
Yeah. When you're seeing multiple examples of it from individuals different sizes, no doubt there's a breeding population.
Sure.
It's not just one individual that's malformed. There's more than one of them. But again, there's, we're getting the same thing with the visual indicators of distinct subspecies, and some of them in areas that are like really close to each other. And apparently they don't breed with each other because they're staying distinct subspecies. So just like you've got elk, whitetail, blacktail, mule deer, and moose here in Montana, there's some states that seem to have different variations of sub-varieties of Bigfoot living in the same state. They might even be relatively close distance-wise, but they don't seem like they inbreed or interact with each other at all.